There's a lot of talk about women's game not being as fast or as strong as the men's game, but are there any attributes that the women's game have that the men's doesn't?
We don't dive about, I think, a lot of the time.
Play-by-play on Sports Joe and Her, brought to you by AIG, in support of 20 by 20.
Hey guys, welcome to the first play-by-play live event brought to you by AIG, joined by Áine O'Gorman, Megan Campbell and Louise Quinn. So we're going to be chatting all things World Cup, a bit about the Irish setup, and getting into some detailed post-match analysis later. Massive thanks firstly for people turning up, coming into Tramline, really appreciate it. And for those tuning in at home, hopefully you'll enjoy the pizza and the beer. Gorge. Nice. Later on, we're going to be throwing the panel and myself some questions. So best questions win some prizes. We've got two €250 all-for-one vouchers up for grabs. 3 Dublin jerseys. Apologies to everybody else that's not from Dublin. One's the limited edition 20 by 20 one, so it won't fit you. So just putting it out there. Anyway, Wicklow girl, you're fine, Louise.
Won't go over your head either,
Thanks.
so it's all right. Yep,
so best questions win. Get them in either if you're in the audience here or at hashtag #PlayByPlayLive. Right, let's get down to business. 51 games played, 144 goals, 121 yellow cards, 4 red ones, 7 billion VAR referrals. It's finals up, the 52nd game, nerves aplenty for the Dutch and for the States. You guys have all played in some pretty big games. You can nod your head, you can agree with that, Áine, you're allowed. Yeah.
Maybe not as big as a World Cup final, but...
There's still time. There's still time. In terms of pre-match prep in those games, come on, like you've played Peamount United against Raheny and Francis. They're still pretty big on you. Come on, like don't undersell that.
Be careful now what you say.
We've got, actually, on the panel, we've got 3 Peamount heads and then a Lone Ranger in Megan Campbell. But she wore some green. We all text each other, wear white t-shirts, don't let Megan know. So it's going well so far. So can you give us what do you think what are your nerves like come big game? Like any major tournament is huge, whether it's against PSG for Champions League qualification or, Man City are playing Arsenal, those big games. What's it like in the dressing room for you guys?
I think obviously they will be nervous, but they're obviously very professional about the job at hand as well. And I think the Americans are probably, and the Dutch are used to being in these situations. So for me, I know the girls will be banging out the music. It'll be thumping, but I need to just stay a little bit calmer and relax because otherwise I'll do something rash and probably get sent off in the first few minutes. So quite high energy player, so I just need to stay calm and try not overthink the game.
And do you guys have your own preset rituals? I know that we had in the team when we're going to games, depending on who you're playing against, some of us would be right at the back of the bus. And if we're playing against France, you try and come up with as many bad pun jokes as you can, like bad jokes in from the hotel to the pitch. So it's kind of lighthearted. And then you've got the others that are headphones in and don't look left and right. Are you more chilled, or is it?
Louise is definitely headphones in, don't look left and right kind of gal.
What's on the playlist?
Just I'm very casual with my music choice. I'll put on a bit of Fleetwood Mac, but I'm just kind of whatever's on the radio, all the dodgy pop songs. I'm just, I'm very, very easygoing like that. But I like to stare out the window for a bit and be all pensive and, get in the zone. And
so do you think, Megan, that she looks like, she's trying to look like she's in the zone, or do you think she's actually in the zone?
Well, I don't really turn around on the bus because the old ones are down the back, so they're in their zone and they're focused, and they're not old, sorry, but more experienced, I would say, more caps.
Thank you.
I'm hearing old. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
But I think I'm one like that as well. I put my headphones in, I look forward and just think about the game and stuff. I think we've got quite a quiet bus for a national team. If I compare it to club, people are playing cards, joking, music blaring on the bus, and it's a lot different, I think.
We've had some of the girls knitting on the bus when we go. So Casey McCabe, we were playing cup final and they were going down, and herself and some of the girls were knitting on the way down. Just
knitting what?
Knitting.
yeah, like a scarf, whatever they want. Tea cozy.
Red and white scarf.
Yeah,
Come on,
just
Ursula.
like,
Oh, nice.
but you just, and then we're playing like Cards Against Humanity, which is just dangerous.
That's awful.
Okay. Keep it
Dangerous.
kosher. There's
Yeah.
some young people there, so
Sorry.
it's a game that you can play when you're older, guys. Don't. Yeah, it's all right. Good. Thanks, Louise, for bringing that up.
Yeah,
I had
cool.
to use my excellent hosting skills to veer that away. Done. Let's get back to knitting. Let's move on from knitting. So, what do you think? So, big games and stuff. It's obviously been quite a while since Ireland has qualified for a major tournament. Do you think that what needs to be done? Do you think to bring them to something like the Euros coming up? I'm asking the whole panel. Tough question, but it's all on you guys.
Yeah, we've never been to a big tournament, so it's I don't know. I suppose you're just looking for consistency, getting the right style of play that suits us, you know, and then just getting, because I think each year there's always been a good team dynamic and all that stuff, but just something just doesn't seem to click when we're on the pitch, and maybe that's even facing the pressure, and yeah, really, really tough. But just consistent training. There's half that, you know, that are, you know, they train 2-3 times a week with their club and then have a game, and then there's another half of us that are training full time, and then, you know, everything it sometimes seems to be a different wavelength. So the quicker that we can bring that together in a training camp is the most important to us at times.
And Áine, do you think, like, at the moment with the Irish setup and with the Women's National League, and again, like Premiership football, you have your 7 days or your 6 days, you have your training time to, like, de-stress, download, chill, play Cards Against Humanity, knit, whatever you do, and then build yourself back up for the next game. But for something like the World Cup, the turnaround is 4 days. Like, going into that, how do you handle that concentration, then you switch off, and then right back up to that again? It's like, well, I know myself, that's extremely tough, because you're, you know, your ice baths, you've got like whatever you need to do. But like, how do you think the Dutch are kind of coming in, or like other teams?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's mentally quite draining, a long tournament like this as well. But when the results are going your way and you're getting to the World Cup final and you're getting all the support, that's obviously going to give you a lot of adrenaline to keep going. And I think the Dutch will be experienced in that situation from the European Championship campaign as well. Like, it is a really long period, and I know we've been in 10-day training camps, and we always go, oh my God, what are we going to do if we qualify for the Euros?
So
We'll be
basically
killing
you're
each other.
saying you wreck each other's heads. So none of you actually like each other on the
Nah.
couch. You're just here to be
Nah.
polite.
Yeah.
Great. You can actually sense the tension.
10 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you get that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
we
going to
did
fake
actually.
laugh at your knitting joke, haha, but it wasn't even funny. Sorry. Sorry.
That wasn't
that's-
me, that was knitting.
Okay, fair enough. Grand. So, like, what do you do then? Just tunes. Tunes
Yeah.
and nothing
Looks out the
productive.
window.
Yeah, I look out the window. Then when I'm in the changing room, it's a different story. I like to, you know, I get a little bit more in the zone. Maybe have a little dance.
A little bop.
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
So
Depending
Megan,
on the
do you
game.
like when you're in the change rooms? I know. Well, I'll talk about some of my teammates are in here. I am a bit of a wreck the head. I do get like more excited and stuff as the game goes, and some people are like, leave her off and don't go near. Are you kind of wreck the head? Do you want to be social, or are you just like, this is my me time?
I spend most of the time before going out on the pitch on the physio bed, to be fair, and getting myself ready and taped up and strapped up to the nines. But I'm quite quiet. I think I like to keep my headphones in for as long as I can and then just focus on getting myself ready. I've got a few superstitions where I put my right sock and shin guard on before my left and little things like that. But yeah, I tend to stay on my phone, stay away from everyone else in the room for as long as I can. But then when you've got to focus on the team and going out to warm up, it's okay, I'm ready to go now.
There's like I'm trying to think back to some rituals that some of the girls have. Some of them are definitely weird, and I'm not mentioning them. But those are, I think there was a Scottish captain, Susie Brown, used to brush your teeth before the national anthem, but it had to be like last minute brush your teeth. And then you can see in one of the games, she had the toothbrush sticking out of her shorts. She forgot to take the toothbrush out. So
That's what the Dutch keeper does. Sarah van Veenendaal brushes her teeth just before we're walking out to play, and it's just so normal now. You watch her and you're just like, yeah, that's
Colgate, electric
yeah,
toothbrush.
she's more Colgate, no manual. Yeah,
Okay.
she does all the work, and Yeah.
This is great.
Just
We're covering dental hygiene, and we should probably start talking a little bit about the football, I guess. That's what you guys are here for and listening at home. Right, the Dutch, they are underdogs going into this game. I know as an Irish rugby player, and maybe yourself, you've gone into games as underdogs before. Is that a nice tag to have?
I think it is. I think the more people underestimate you, the better it is for you when you go on the pitch, because you can prove people wrong. You can be a bit more relaxed, I think, on the ball, off the ball. But they will have some sort of, I say, expectation maybe, because the crowd that they'll have there from the Dutch, they're always got a big fan base. And they are European champions at the end of the day. And they have beaten a lot of teams in order to get that name and title for themselves. So I don't think they'll be stress-free or as relaxed as some might think as underdogs, but I don't think they'll be as they won't be expected to win like the US are.
I think one thing with them though is that they know that they can play better still. I actually don't think they've played. It's so harsh to say they're in a World Cup final. I don't think they've actually played great. They've played some really, really good football, and you can see that they're persevering. They have a really, really strong squad. But I think the positive bit is that they haven't played their best yet. And so hopefully they're all going to be trying to get that out there today. The likes of Medema, Van de Sanden, I feel like can lift their game a lot. And so, they'll feel like, they'll feel a bit of that pressure, but the fact that they know that they can take it up another few gears, I think is really, really positive for them.
And Áine, same question to you.
I don't know. I think the Dutch probably haven't performed as well because they've played against a lot of teams that played very deep against them and made it very hard, like we did when we played and we parked the bus. So, obviously, I'd love to see the Dutch do something today against the American side, but after going into extra time in the semi-final as well, I just think that might take the toll on the legs and how explosive and quick the Americans will start as well. So, the first 15 minutes will be key for me.
Yeah, that extra day recovery from that the USA have is huge. And then we were talking earlier, like if they're scoring, the States are scoring a goal within the first 12 minutes, which is insane. As a whole, this World Cup, how do you think it's gone for, football fans, but also maybe viewers that have never really tuned into the game before? Megan, what do you think? Has this World Cup been a success?
Yeah, definitely. I think the amount of people watching in from just RTE and TG Carter from Ireland, knowing that we aren't even at the World Cup, and the amount of following and support that has got was obviously tremendous. And then BBC saying that they've got 11.9 million, which is a record for 2019 of any programme on the television for women's football is obviously phenomenal stats, and hopefully it continues to rise. I think they are improving it year by year, and I think the coverage from the likes of this and elsewhere will only help to continue to grow the game.
And Louise, you've been obviously we've got some RTE pundits that we've nabbed. So we've stolen you as well. We're like obviously prime time, it's you want to chat to Jenny Murphy, obviously, like this is a big time. You can laugh, lads. That was a bad joke. Thanks for that. How did you find being a pundit? I know obviously you'd rather be on the pitch doing a job, but still being a part of the World Cup. Good experience?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. All the way through, competitively jealous of all the teams all the time, thinking that you could do a job against some of them, but at the time for us to qualify, we just weren't good enough at the time. And you could see the teams that came through, the Dutch and Norway, out of our group. But it's just been great. I'm learning when I go back into the league, I'm going to be able to tell girls, I know their middle names, their date of births, what their mother's maiden name is, and
star sign.
All of no, all of them, and and that's I've learned so much, and I've learned how to again look at the game really differently, because usually we just look at analysis. You're given the clips, and you're like, this is how we want to play, and this is what we're going to do in training. Whereas we've all had to really look in depth and be like, we've got to figure out the pros and cons and the good and the bad things in the game, and the players that are standing out, or why isn't this player standing out. So it just kind of, I think, gave us such a different perspective, and then also I just got to chat a lot and I like to do that.
And continue the chat. Áine, has there been like a temptation when you're watching it and commenting to be like, oh, I want a piece of that, like get back into the action? Is there any graw to maybe put back on that green jersey? Nudge.
Yeah, probably. I think it's hard when you're a very competitive person. And
Are you competitive, Áine?
What?
Are you competitive?
Nah, hate losing.
Yeah. She was like, I want the first chair. I want to be first there. I want the first chair.
I'm going to finish my glass of water first.
Yeah.
We had a big fight outside. We'd play rock, paper, scissors for the first chair.
Áine
I won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do miss, and obviously it's such a massive honour representing your country as well. And the girls, I haven't missed it so far, but the girls obviously watching the World Cup.
Saint, they're right there on you.
I don't miss
Haven't
them
missed the
at all.
girls so far. Class.
Haven't missed them. No, I haven't missed playing so far. But I think when the qualifiers come up now for the Euros, that I hope we qualify for. I think it'll probably hit home a little bit then. But look, we'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
So you guys have Ukraine, Greece coming up. Short, like, you get to travel away, see the sights.
Yeah, Montenegro, beautiful place. Germany, we've been a couple of times. But we're not playing in the prime heat either. That was the first thing we checked with Montenegro and Greece, was that it was in lower temperatures. And then obviously Ukraine, who knows? We'll go and hopefully we come back. And we just don't know where we're going to be sent to. We don't know.
Well, we're going to end on that amazing piece of information from Louise. Great send-off. Guys, the match is about to kick off, so we're going to take a break. We're going to be back at halftime and like post-match for some analysis. So stay tuned later on, but thanks very much for listening to the four of us so far. And enjoy the rest of the show. All right, how are you feeling about that? Okay, some of the state supporters are pretty happy and content. Don't worry, we're about to raise your spirits with some quality post-chat analysis from me, the only non-soccer player on this panel. Okay, Megan, how'd you feel that second half went? Okay, let's just get right to it. That penalty.
When you look at it in live play, I don't think it's penalty. I think she goes down very easily. The ball's gone out for either a goal kick if it's not given, or a corner if she touches the ball. But when you slow it down, and I think Louise showed me a picture of it, and her foot's actually against her arm, until you actually see that picture, I don't think it's a penalty for me. So 2-0 in the United States' favour, and then we harp back to VAR again. How do you guys... What's your love of VAR? Áine, you're shaking your head. You look pretty mad. Give us some... Let loose.
No, I just think we were talking there at the back, and VAR hadn't really had an impact on the game so far, and we thought maybe they're not being as cynical with it, and maybe just letting the game roll a little bit, and then come back to the Alex Morgan penalty. And if you interpret it in the interpretation, she's getting a goal-scoring opportunity where there was no goal-scoring opportunity before, and it's very soft and harsh. And I think they've been gifted a lot of penalties along the way, and especially in the Japan game as well. So I think VAR has probably overshadowed the World Cup a little bit as well, and handed the victory to the US today.
So obviously VAR, and it has seemed to have favoured a lot of the stronger teams in this tournament, in particular the States. They have a lot of... I'm not even going to call them 50-50 decisions going their way. As a defender, are you a fan of VAR? Because I feel like for the offside, it can be pretty nice, but then for decisions like that, just fall the wrong side.
Yeah, I think even as a fan, it's been tough to watch it, because I think it's brought a different drama to the game, but it's like one that we're not enjoying at the moment. And then... obviously, as in for offsides, brilliant. If they're a hair offside, brilliant, because they're offside for me. But then, exactly, it comes to these moments now where I feel like I'm going to have to change my running technique and do pre-season with hands behind my back and just see how it goes. It just seems to have, and it probably is going to put that bit of fear, in you as well, that anytime anyone enters the box with the ball. And I feel like some players could be smart enough and just start pinging it at your arm, like they probably will, to try to get yourself out of a situation. It's like what they do in hockey sometimes. Obviously, it's fair. a lot more. It's going to happen a lot more often. But they do then start aiming for people's feet so they can get a free kick out of it. And you feel like then maybe that might start to happen. So it's at times just put a bit of a crap kind of spin on and the fact that they were testing it out on the biggest stage possible for us. Like, that's where we want to be, and they're like, oh yeah, let's give this a little test run, and it's been disappointing.
Like, more of an attacking player, are you looking at the VAR, or are you looking like Alex Morgan, who did like a great Meryl Streep dive, I felt, or she made a meal out of it? Are you kind of gonna like hone your talent in front of the mirror and practice that like swan dive for pre-season?
I think I'll have a nosebleed if I go that high up the pitch, but I think maybe the decisions went the way of the better teams, as you would say, but because they're more experienced and their professionalism would have, okay, if I go down here under a little bit of contact, I know I'm going to get it. Whereas it seems to have gone to not to the underdogs, but I think that could be due to professionalism kind of way, that they're used to it. Yeah, they're just smarter in that sense.
Did the United States deserve to lift the trophy?
You'd have to say they probably did. They probably created more chances, and the Dutch keeper had an unbelievable first half as well. And as the game went on, you kind of wondered where the Dutch were going to pull any goals out of. I can't really remember the Americans really being tested in that back line, except for Miedemar went on a few runs, but never even got a shot off in the end. So, yeah, I think it was probably the game fizzled out after the penalty, and it just opened up. And like you say, I think in the end the Americans could have won 5-0. But yeah, I think it just goes back to that VAR that you think it's going to cut out the diving, but I think it's actually enhancing diving. People are actually diving more than less. So.
And like it was a great game. Everyone was watching, and then I think it was just even the United States supporters here were kind of like, oh, like that's not. If you're cheering for your team, you want them, I feel like, to win a certain way, and that was just, I felt like such a harsh penalty. And then the Dutch had to play attacking football. It opened up, and second goal came from the States. So they don't have too bad a trophy collection now. No White House visit though, but sure. Is it the worst thing?
Yes, they may just be busy that day. Rapina will be dyeing her hair again, so just be busy. Like I understand, yeah.
So you've got someone like we know the United States legacy in major tournaments, the World Cup. They've got their name on that trophy a lot. Netherlands in 2011, they were at home watching the game. 2015 was their first World Cup. Did really well, won the Euros in 2017. And then in only their second World Cup, they've got to a final. That's pretty impressive stuff. What do Ireland need to do to kind of follow up? I know it's a tough ask, but I know we've mentioned it before, but do you have any kind of definitive, we need to change that in order to qualify for a major tournament? Louise, what do you think?
I just think, so even in terms of women's football itself, you can see the huge improvement of, we'll say, this World Cup to last World Cup. And even, someone's asking me, the game seems even a bit faster and just way more technical. I'm like, yeah, because we're finally getting the resources to do it and the training that is needed and the sports science behind it. And that's the thing, give us the tools and we're going to do it. We're going to excel. We're going to do brilliantly at it. So give Irish players the tools and the facilities and, things that you can just do to succeed. Obviously, it's going to come down to you as a person, but at least if everything's in place, you can say, right, I'm going to give this a good go. So, good training facilities, training as much as we can, good competitive league, good matches, and and it all comes. And I see that that's where we have been improving as a team, because even the clubs here are starting to train more. There was more home-based trainings, and then a lot of us then are playing professional. So you can see the standard raising, but that's it. We can't drop off, as there was 7 out of the 8 teams in the quarterfinals were European. So we can't fall behind. We've got to start keeping up with those European teams.
So it is the toughest area to get out of. Both Euros is going to be cracking, and it's the next one we're going for at the moment. Megan, similar question, I guess. Is there a complacency there with the FAI, or is there stuff that you're this needs to be done in order for us to get to get our kind of to get on the pitch and play those big games, because we played so well against the Dutch, draw away from home, which is huge. An unlucky defeat against Italy just before their World Cup. Like, there is talented players there and they're capable of so much. But are we left a bit short at times? Do you think do you think you're given the opportunity to succeed as much as you should?
If you're a home-based player, I don't think so as much. A lot of us have started to travel to England and further to play at a higher level, a higher standard, and to get the needed training, like Louise says. I think over the last number of years, the FAI have said, we're improving women's football, the development is growing, and the amount of numbers in female soccer is going up. And at grassroots level, it is incredible to see the difference and the amount more numbers that are playing. But I think in the here and now, and the players in the first team, it's just too slow for me. I think it needs to be, the focus needs to go on our national team in qualifying. The underage setup, I think, can still be improved, and the league as a whole, I still think, is moving too slowly for my, like, in my opinion, it's still moving too slow if we want to progress as a nation, and not have players having to travel abroad to play full-time football. I think the funding needs to improve, and the whole stability behind the league needs to continue to improve, because for so long they're saying it's happening, we're doing it, but it's not being done quick enough, in my opinion.
And Áine, like, as a home-based player, do you see the structures put in place for the younger players to be able to develop in the Women's National League? Like, we've got some young footballers here fully kitted out. Thanks for coming, guys. Are they given the resources and the best coaching that they can to, you know, potentially wear a green jersey and represent the country in the future?
Like, I'd have to agree with the girls. I think there is investment now in the women's team, in the senior team, but I play in the league, and I think the league lacks a lot of investment, and it's the development now. If you don't have the option, maybe you do need everyone playing professional, or at least given the base to train on a professional level, and you'd know that as well, playing with the Irish rugby team. And to me, if it's not an option, like, whether people have to think of their education, like you taught your education before, so that's the gap then. That in that gap of when you finish school to get in your professional contract, and you need to think your education, then we need to have a base here in the Women's National League and more investment, that the girls here are able to train at that level that they need to be able to compete in international football. And there is more players now playing professional football, and I think that ultimately does help our women's team as well, which I do firmly believe we need a new manager first, but we'll qualify for the Euros.
No, so obviously we've hit on it, like, it's been an absolute cracking World Cup. There's been some phenomenal games. Like, any standout performances from you, Louise?
Standout performances.
Well, if you were to pick your dream team, so this goes out to everyone. So who's making that dream team for you? Like, you're gonna get your goalie, your backline sorted. Like, who's definitely making Quinn's 11?
Quinn's 11, good. Quinn up top. No?
Hit the big man.
Yeah, target player.
Just launch it.
Big woman.
But no, I'd probably, even from that game, I'd go either maybe the Dutch keeper, Sarah van Wielendal, or the Chilean keeper, Endler. She was, I think, brilliant for the whole tournament. I'd have Lucy Bronson there. I'd have Becky Sauerbrunn. I'd have Steph Houghton. Crystal Dunn. I'd put Rapinoe in there. I'd put Van de Donk in there. Strikers, I'd put Rose Lavelle in there. I'd probably put Sam Kerr from Australia up top.
That's a pretty significant number of players. Like, I was expecting 3 or 4.
Yeah,
but
okay. 7 aside.
Like,
We'll play
fair
7
enough.
I think
Yeah.
we're playing Gaelic now.
Yeah,
Are you 15
class.
aside?
It's like, is that? What about yourself, Megan? Is there, like, definitely want them?
Lou's definitely named a lot of the players that I probably would have put in my 11 as such, but one player that for me has stood out has been Ellen White. She's put the ball in the back of net more times.
Now, are you saying this because she's a teammate, or?
Yeah, she's a teammate now, but no, she's definitely had a great tournament, and she was quite unlucky in the playoff game for third place for the goal that was disallowed. I don't really think it was a VAR decision that should have went against her, but twice she's had 2 goals disallowed, and she's still come away with 6 goals in the tournament, which is a record for England. But she's also tied it now to win the Golden Boot at this tournament. So she's definitely been a big standout player for me.
Áine?
I'd have to agree with a lot of their choices. Bronze, I'd probably have Lavelle from America in midfield. Definitely have White up top. Not Sam Kerr, sorry, Lewis.
I have 2 up top.
4-4-2.
Louise is up top.
Louise, you're up top now. It's 3 up top. Formation's gone out the window.
You're
so
playing full back as well, is it?
Oh, God, no.
Sorry.
Yeah, so to me, Lavelle, I think, has probably been one of my standout players at the tournament for America, and she scored a cracking goal today.
So we've got, like, when we talk about teams now, like, even USA, I'd know some of the names off by heart, just playing quality. Same with Sweden and the Dutch. You hear these names and they become more... They're just, like, you know the Man United players, the male players, you know all them. And because they're in the public forefront now and you see them, maybe if the TV is on in the background, like, people are watching games maybe that necessarily mightn't have been interested or known really as much about women's soccer as they did before. This isn't just soccer, like, there's clearly an appetite for women's sport, not just in this country but worldwide. Where do we need to kind of go to keep that going? And obviously we want success in this country, but in general, like with 20 by 20 doing amazing stuff, where do we see the next kind of step going? Where do we need to push? Is it more media? Do we get like grassroots? What kind of area would you guys love to see improve? I'll probably chuck it to Louise first because it's a hard question. I don't want to sell you guys up the river. I'll sell Louise.
I didn't know my answer yet, so
yeah,
ask Louise
I was like,
first.
I saw your thinking face. I was like, I'm not going to throw this to Áine.
I'd probably say for the moment it's got to be like media and social media, just how everything is. Everyone, the whole part of today was to interact and tweet and to to put questions forward to us, so it just seems to be
And pizza
yeah. And but yeah, so just like to I don't know
She doesn't know our answer anymore.
No, I don't know what.
To be fair, I gave you a very long question, and so halfway through myself I was like,
yeah,
I forgot the question, so my bad.
But no.
Media.
Exactly. What you're doing. But just this bringing it forward with social media, because obviously the participation is a massive thing, but I think at the same time we want it to happen instantly, and the most instant thing you can do kind of at the moment is the social media side of thing and getting people to come to games and just support sport, support Ireland, support Arsenal, support Man City, support Peamount. That's, for me, that's the most instantaneous thing that can happen now and grow it faster now.
And Megan, have you seen like a change in not just crowds but the media and how they report with Ireland and Man City over the last couple of years? Like, you've been involved in the national squad for a while. Has there been a change, like a noticeable change for you?
Yeah, definitely. The crowds at Tallaght Stadium alone have increased in like numerous amounts, and the amount of kids and families. I think women's football is a more community based. You see families coming to games rather than like their dad and their son. It's like a big family orientated thing, and I think it's a great day out for a lot of families to come and enjoy. At City, they have a new thing called Same City, Same Passion. And so they've put us on the same media outlets, like Louise was saying about the media. They've put us on the same media outlets as the men in order to give us that more exposure, to help grow the women's game. They'll play some double headers on the same day where the men will play first, we'll play straight after. And if you buy a ticket to the men's, you can come into our game for free. So little things like that, I think, will obviously help not only at club level but at country. I know the FAI are doing things now where if you come to I think it's 20 by 20 as well. If you come to a women's game, you also get tickets for the 21s and the men's game and jerseys and things like that. So more exposure in that front, I think, will help. But for me personally, I think that us as players need to improve, like continuously push ourselves to strive for better. And in our quality of play will then increase people wanting to come and watch us play. Like the continued growth of World Cups and the quality of World Cups and Euros, I think will encourage more people to want to watch. Because back in the day, you used to say, women's football's slow, no one wants to watch it, like it's boring. But now, like Louise and Áine have adhered to, the quicker the game's getting, the better players are becoming, the more quality is in the game, the more people want to watch and come and see it.
Like, I think it's kind of similar enough with rugby as well. We see now like England are gone fully professional. The French are pretty much there as well. They're training with each other pretty much every day. They don't have to worry about, their full-time jobs and finances. All they need to do is how am I best able to perform on the pitch, and it's taken care of. And that leads to some unbelievable rugby. I think the World Cup final up in Ravenhill, up in Belfast in 2017 was one of the best games of rugby I've been at. And it was, when you get that, like pretty much like you mentioned, Louise, when you get that investment, when you get good coaching, because I think a lot of the time sometimes, and it's changing now, but you would see coaches nearly use women's teams as a stepping stone, and then they move on to the men's team. We'll touch on Colin Bell later on. Sorry. But when you get that quality coaching, it does obviously improve, and you get some cracking games. Case point, this World Cup. But then that divide and that gap is starting to grow. Ireland, the women's team, were top 4 in the world in 2014. Other teams went professional and they kind of really invested in their squads, and now we're 10th and we're still doing what we're doing. If even in 2014, like it needs to change, or the gap is going to be too great. Do you think the gap is widening for you guys, or there's still like that? You can still close down. Obviously, with those results, I don't think so. I think like the Irish team are more than capable of qualifying for a major tournament. What do you think, Áine?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the same in most women's sports. Probably the sport is developing quick, but there's probably is more room for, if you invest in a women's team, we probably have a better chance of being successful on a world stage as opposed to probably, let's say, the male football team that is very, in most countries, is quite developed. So if you do invest in the girls and the setup and the system, like you will reap the benefits and the results. Like look at the Dutch, didn't come to the World Cup in 2011. We're there in 2015, then European champions, now playing in a World Cup final. So I think, to me, it just comes back to investment, and with the investment then does become your media coverage and giving players, athletes, just that platform to be a professional athlete and that opportunity to be the best we can, and then showcase the best football or the best rugby that you can, and that will gain interest and support too.
So now I've run out of questions, so I'm going to have to ask you guys to throw up some questions to the panel. So Niamh is going to steal one of our mics, and if anyone has any questions for the panel, obviously be in with a shout of winning some pretty nifty prizes. So any hands up for any questions?
What's your name? Where do you come from?
Hannah.
Hannah. Go on.
If you could play for any country in the World Cup except USA or Netherlands, who would you play for?
Ireland.
And Ireland, except Ireland.
Except Ireland.
Japan. Yeah. Now Japan, they play some nice football, and I think they captured the hearts of everyone watching. So.
Oh yeah. I would, I'd probably actually go Sweden. Living there, being there. I know a bit of the language already, slightly.
You're such a Swede.
But then I like even just their style of play. I think it's defensive, but then quick counter attack, and like their change of speed and stuff. So maybe Swedish. And now I've got blonde hair.
Are you able to say thanks for that great question, Hannah, in Swedish?
Tack så mycket på... I don't know what question is.
Just you could pretend.
Tack Hannah. Tack så mycket.
You could have just made that up and no one would have known what you're saying.
Question. Tack så mycket på question.
Okay, another question?
And when you're on like a bad run of form, what would you do to get back to playing your best?
Great question. What's your name?
Kate.
I think trying to put the bad things that have happened to you in the back of your mind and focusing on the next pass, the next cross, the next shot, the next defensive header, and just trying to improve on the next thing that you do, and trying to forget it as quick as you can, because I'm a bad one for holding on to things, and I struggle to let things go out of my head. But I think the most important thing is what's next? What can you do next?
I think for me, it's sometimes you might make a bad pass, or you mightn't have the best tackle, but what you are able to control all the time is the work rate and how you go about it. So I mightn't have the best technical game, but I'd still like to look back and be like, I need to be able to rate myself a 9 out of 10 in effort constantly. So I might be playing absolutely rubbish, but like my effort and like how much I put into it needs to be a 9 out of 10. I need to be dying when I come off the pitch. So that would be for me, like empty the tank. Even if I'm not the most effective, it's still like work rate.
I think that's the same on the training pitch as well. It's just like, and you know, repeat things that you are actually good at. So if it is something where I've started to learn to play more with my feet because I only use my head, but like if I'm having a bad time with my feet, I'm like, you know what, just put in some crosses for me and I'll head the ball, and it just seems to get my confidence back at just things that I am good at. And just as Jenny was saying, just 100% all the time, you know, on the training pitch, and then, you know, in your matches, at least you can be proud of that performance and know that you gave everything.
What's your name?
Inara.
That's beautiful.
Has there ever been a point in your life where you wanted to stop playing football? And if there has, what helped you get to the point that you are right now?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Tissues.
Yeah,
This is going to set me off.
it's good stuff. You can take that question. Yeah, Áine, go for your life. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I suppose there is times, I think, when you see the effort you're putting in, and I think it was probably came to the forefront when us and the girls took a stand and the amount of effort we were putting in, and we weren't getting that back, and the resources we needed, and I think we were getting really frustrated that we weren't performing the way we could perform and qualifying for the tournaments we should be qualifying for. But for me, it's then you just have to go back and think why you enjoy playing, and find your love for the game again, and with your friends, and the pride in playing, putting on the jersey. So to me, it's just go back to why you play and what you love, and going back to enjoying the game, and then I think you become more successful.
Yeah, I think, and mine would be a similar time around Áine's, where we were trying to make a stand for us on the Irish team, but then at the same time for me, I had just moved from Sweden to England, and then the club I was playing with, they just cut the women's team. So then I didn't have a team, and I was trying to then, so my faith in football kind of left a little bit because we weren't getting enough support from the FAI, and then the club that I went to weren't supporting the women's team. So it made me really question, all of that, and but then as things then just started to improve and get better, and then thankfully I got a move to Arsenal, I then even more started probably to appreciate football even more. That, it can be kind of taken away from you sometimes very, very quickly in one way or another through an injury or through, no fault of your own, just that sometimes other people have that kind of power. But I think it then actually just made me want to succeed even more. As hard as it was at the time, there's always, it can only improve, hopefully, and it definitely did.
Well, you know what my answer's going to be?
You're injured.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. I'm
going on my own. For me, I tore my ACL November 2017, and it took me the guts of 18 months to get my first 90 minutes back. I had a load of setbacks, and there was times throughout it where I was thinking, do I really want to play football? Is it something that mentally I want to, if it happens again, what's going to happen? And I think without the support of the players from the national team, the players from club team, my friends, my family, I don't think I would have continued to play football, because it was my third surgery needed injury, and for me it was a tough time to get back, which I'm sure you can adhere to. A long-term injury is not the easiest thing on the mental health.
No, it's definitely not. So I've had 2 16-month injuries with my back and my knee, so knee twins, great. And I did my knee when I wasn't playing for Ireland, so I wasn't covered. So when I tried to get back playing, you have to do it on your own. So you're in the gym really early in the morning on your own. Then you go to work, and then you go back to the gym, and it's really, at the start, it's really boring exercises. It's just you, a band, and really bad music, just trying to lift your leg a little bit. And it's really boring because you get it's like a roller coaster injury of, I can see it getting a little bit better, and then it comes crashing down and you're in a lot of pain, and then you have to kind of nearly start back all over again. And when you don't have your teammates around you as much, it's even harder because you just, and sometimes you can isolate yourself a little bit too. But my whole thought process was you should be grateful that you were given the opportunity to play rugby in the first place, and I was lucky enough to find a sport that I love and that I'm good at, and I got to play at the highest level. And if I don't get back, then that's fine. I'm not just a rugby player, you're not just a football player, it's just something that you do. Hopefully I will be able to get back playing, but if not, it's not the end of the world either. You just kind of take the little wins and then be grateful for what you're able to do. So it's kind of, don't think of the big picture, it's the small little things, and that's helped me anyway.
And then you become presenter of a podcast, a really popular podcast.
Yeah, and then I bully the 3 members when they come on. It's great. Excellent question, by the way.
Does anyone want to top that question? We've got one over here.
There's a lot of talk about women's game not being as fast or as strong as the men's game, but are there any attributes that the women's game have that the men's doesn't?
We don't dive about, I think, a lot of the time. We actually play football. We don't like the whole dramatic theatrics. And I think we like to work on technical as much as we can. Yeah, maybe some may say the game's a bit slower than the men's game, which is natural. They're men, we're women. They've different abilities and qualities that we have. But I don't think you can compare, in my opinion, the men's game to the women's game. I think it's 2 different as such sports. Yes, it's football, but they come under 2 separate lines, and I think that's why you need to credit the women's game as much as the men's game, because it's not your second best to the men, it's you stand alone and the men stand alone. And for me, I don't like all the theatrics about the men's game.
So you won't be practicing basically diving in front of the mirror. Okay, well, we've got that. What about yourself, Áine? Do you want to take that question as well?
I was going to say the diving thing too straight away. So, no, I think a lot of people have been pleasantly surprised by the actual standard of the World Cup as well, and how much football the girls play as opposed to diving around. And some people have even commented it's more like old school football. It's more total football as well. So that for me is a massive positive as well. Obviously, we're never going to ever be as strong or as fast as the men either, with our physical and genetic makeup. So I think you just have to look at it as 2 different games as well, and how good the World Cup's been.
So we're going to jump to some online questions. Some people have been tweeting numerously from the one account. So to up their chances of winning, you guys know who you are. But we got some decent questions in, right? So current company excluded, so you can't name yourselves or the people beside you. Who is the best player you have played against and with? So that's from Michelle Claffey. Or Claff, we'll call her Claff.
The best player I've ever played against was Carly Lloyd, probably, on the back of, as we always do, go over and play the Americans on a little victory tour and get hammered. So it's not fun. So I think off the back of the last World Cup as well, she was in flying form, and she was just tenacious, and I think I was a bit blown away. And Abby Wambach as well, who's another American player too. So she was just dominant in the air and such a clinical finisher.
Louise, what about yourself?
I think to play with one of my favourite players to play with. So she plays for Scotland, Kim Little. And she plays for Arsenal as well. She's just, to me, she's just the entire package of everything in terms of professionalism, how she is on the ball. She can defend, she can attack. She's like this size and she'll just turn you, and just her ability on the ball, she'll never lose the ball. Like her, I think if you could even look at her possession or pass stats, it's just incredible. And she's been through a long-term injury as well with her ACL, And in the gym, the men's team used to call her 9 to 5 because she was just in the gym all day, just working on everything. She wasn't trying to just get her knee better. She was like, well, yeah, if I have good upper body, if this, that, and the other is strong. So yeah, she definitely the ones that I've played with, and then against. Yeah, I'd like Abby Wambach, exactly. So on, you're saying the aerial presence, so I'd be the one marking her, and you just.
So did she make a holy show of you?
Only like a couple of times.
Okay, fair enough. We'll take that.
And yeah. No, she definitely didn't. No, I didn't. No, she did. She made a show, but that was it. It was just incredible how, her accuracy and her technique and her strength was just. It was just out of this world.
So we've got. Do we have an Attain Hobson in the right? So you've been picked. Do you mind reading out your question?
I wanted to ask Louise, did you cry when Marta called you a tall loser in Swedish?
So a little bit of a background story. When Louise was playing in Sweden, Marta, the Brazilian footballer, in Swedish, called her a tall loser. So because I'm so sound, I got in contact with one of the Swedish girls and asked, how do you actually say tall loser in Swedish? So it's actually great that came up. I was delighted. Okay, I'm going to butcher this. Hold on. Die longitude. Tall loser.
Thank you. Exactly how Marta said it, yeah. No, maybe I probably cried with laughter after it happened. I was delighted because obviously I was maybe getting in her head in some way. I did. I just tackled her in the last few minutes of a game, and I was tall.
Dude, you're still tall.
I'm still tall. I was tall. Maybe a bit of a loser, I don't know. And yeah, but no, I just loved it. She just started talking to me in Swedish, and I was just like, this is brilliant. I'd love to know. And they're like, do you know what she said? And I was like, not a clue. They're like, she pretty much just called you a tall loser. And I was like, brilliant. I was like, I love that.
So that is one of the winners of the voucher. Congratulations. Okay, reading it from off here now, I've been told. So this is from Michael McGlintock. Michael, are you in the room at all? So Michael's question about picking an Irish member. Do you want to read it out there?
Okay. If you could pick one of today's players to play for an Irish team, who would you pick and why? And also, I'd like to extend that, maybe even one of the players to play for the rugby team as well.
Ooh. Well, we'll go with the soccer one first. So who would you steal out of the Dutch or the US team to nab and wear a green jersey?
I think Rose Lavelle, not only because her pale skin, but her quality on and off the ball. I think she's been classed this tournament for a 24-year-old to play in her first World Cup, and to perform the way she has on the big stage has been incredible, and one that's still a lot of development to do. So I wouldn't mind snapping her up, yeah.
Nice.
I'm the same. I was going to say Lavelle as well. Or for the Dutch, maybe Van de Donk. Creative player. I think she didn't stop. She had some engine on her all day today as well. So and can produce some magic. So Van de
Denise
Donk
O'Sullivan's our little magician, though.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's going to compete with her, isn't she? So we can play the two of them.
The two of them, yeah, exactly.
We're playing attacking formation now. Yeah. The new manager.
Changing, yeah. 2-4-4.
I'd steal for the rugby team probably the goalkeeper Van Veenendaal. I think I'd put her. I don't know where I put her, but maybe the second row. Chuck her in there, see what happens. But yeah, that's who I'd nab anyway. Massive thanks. You've won the voucher, so congratulations there, Michael. Good stuff. And to the jerseys, the winners of the jerseys, we're going to have to give it to the 3 stellar questions right at the start. So you guys, massive congrats. You got some jerseys. So guys, that's a wrap from us. I just want to say thank you very much for coming to the show, Tramline for hosting, to everyone listening at home. Thank you. So you can tune in on Monday, every Monday. It's on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So you can have a listen and look back at these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful faces. You can check it out on iTunes if you want as well. But yeah, massive thanks to everyone for coming on board, and thank you to the panel, Áine, Megan, and Louise.